What's going on, y'all? Today I'm bringing you guys my full review on the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. This beautiful shoe. I've ran about 25 miles in the shoe, so let's get right into the review. So as always, we are going to start off with the outsole and the traction performance. So when it comes to an outsole pattern, this looks pretty, I guess, regular for a super trainer. As you can see, the green pods are the more durable traction rubber pods, and overall the traction for me personally worked really well. I do live in California, so the weather wasn't too crazy. I was mostly running in sunny conditions. The worst conditions I was running on in this shoe was on the beach where the sand got onto the road, so I was slipping a little bit here and there, but that's really normal. I don't think any shoe is sticking like glue when there's sand on the road. So overall traction performance for me felt really good, but honestly, I run in really ideal weather conditions and mostly just on the road. So you might want to look elsewhere on other reviews if you're wondering about snowy conditions or rainy conditions, because I haven't tested the outsole in those conditions before. Moving on to durability of the outsole, I mean, I only have 25 miles on this shoe, but I would say that the outsole is holding up pretty well. If anything, they are average, maybe to slightly above average. I do think that the rubber outsole on the bottom actually has a pretty decent thick layer of rubber on the outsole, so I do think that these should last a while. I do see the little bumps on the tread which came brand new on the shoe, so that is always a good sign even after 25 miles that there are still some of those little bumps on the outsole, which is a good sign because sometimes these little bumps on the outsole are already gone after 10 miles, especially with running on the sand. A lot of the times when it slips a little bit, it kind of burns out the outsole a little bit faster in my experience. So with 25 miles on the shoe, I can say that the traction and the durability seem to be holding up decently well, especially priced at $200. You would want this shoe to maybe last a while, but durability is also going to depend on how you use the shoe, where you run in the shoe, also, maybe how much you weigh and all those different factors. So overall, for me, traction and durability were up to par, if anything, maybe slightly above average, which is a good sign. Now, moving on to the midsole, this chunky boy. We have a full-length DNA Gold midsole with a little bit of DNA Flash V2, I believe, and DNA Gold is Brooks's PIBA-based foam, and in combination with that high stack, it's above 40 millimeters. I don't exactly know what spec it is, but I'll throw it up on the screen. There is a full-length plate. I believe it is a plastic plate though. It's this mango or strawberry-looking color plate, but I believe it is a full-length nylon or plastic plate. Again, I'll put it on here just to double check. But how did the shoe feel on foot? So when I was walking around in the shoe, when I was jogging in the shoe doing like maybe recovery runs, I felt that the DNA Gold or this setup was very comfortable. It was soft yet still pretty stable and supportive due to that plate. I think without the plate, this shoe would kind of be very unstable and kind of all over the place, even though it might be a more fun ride. So the plate kind of deadens the foam just a little bit, and at slower paces, I feel like it was a little bit on the softer side, but it still felt very, very stable. And the plate you can definitely feel throughout your whole foot. You can kind of feel it's a little bit rigid underfoot, but when you do pick up the pace in the shoe, I feel like that's when there is a touch of magic and a touch of bounce. It's not the bounciest shoe that I've ever ran in, but it is a very comfortable shoe. It's not gonna give you that extra spring like some of these other race day shoes give you, but again, this is a super trainer, so it's not technically a race day shoe, so maybe it's not good to also train in those really bouncy shoes all the time. So this setup is going to be very comfortable whether you're running faster long runs or you're wearing them just for long runs or you're running at slower paces. It can kind of handle all the paces, but like I said, when you are running a little bit faster, it doesn't give you that bounce or that pep in your step that some race day shoes do. It is going to give you a little bit more than the average non-plated daily trainer, which is nice because this is a super trainer. And also the impact absorption or the impact protection in the shoe is extremely, extremely good. I ran a 15-mile long run in them and my legs still felt fresh the next day, which is always a good sign of good impact protection. And this DNA Gold, honestly, I don't have much to complain about with this setup. I think if anything, if I were to nitpick, maybe a touch more bounce would be nice, and maybe if I didn't feel the plate as much as I did in the shoe, I would like that a little bit more. But then again, that plate gives you that stability, and it also gives you that kind of toey spring off since the shoe is pretty stiff due to that plate. And overall, I think that this year's setup versus last year's Hyperion Max setup, this one clears it completely. And I mean, for a $20 increase, you are getting a lot more foam than last year's model. So kudos to Brooks for giving that. I mean, not for raising the price, but kudos for giving more of that stack height as well as DNA Gold, because last year's model also was just DNA Flash V2, which is more of an EVA foam, versus this one, the DNA Gold does have PIBA. So it is going to be bouncier, it is going to be softer on those shorter runs, and you still get that inherent stability from the plate. Now, when it comes to width of the shoe and other stability options, obviously, this is a neutral shoe, but I did feel very stable and very protected in this shoe. Like I said, underfoot, you can definitely feel the plate and it does feel a little bit rigid. But then again, that's gonna give you more stability and it's gonna give you a little bit more of a responsive feeling when you are running in the shoe, especially at faster paces. I went down to around the 6:30 to 6-minute mile pace in the shoe, and it was very comfortable. I did feel very protected due to that very high stack height in the shoe. So I think it is a very versatile super trainer, especially for this setup. I think you're gonna be able to do a wide range of things. And even if you wanted to wear this shoe on race day for a marathon or for a half marathon, I don't exactly think like it's a shoe that you'd be grabbing for a PR in those distances, but it can definitely hold up for those distances. And you can still definitely PR, you just might have to feel like you're putting in a little bit more work. But at $200, especially for this setup, I think you are getting your value's worth, because you can use it as a race day shoe. You can use it as a long run shoe. You can use it kind of as a recovery shoe, even though I typically don't like wearing plated shoes for recovery runs. But overall, this setup is just light years better than last year's setup, and you do get a high stack height, which is really nice. And yeah, for the price point, I would kind of expect that. But kudos to Brooks. I think that this setup was very, very good this year. And last but not least, we are going to touch upon the upper and the fit. So fit, first of all, true to size. I personally have a wider than average foot, but my true size is a US size 12, not wide, not skinny, not medium or whatever, or actually it is medium. But I did get the regular size 12 in the shoe, and I feel like it fit my slightly wider than average foot perfectly. There was a little bit of space in the forefoot, which I personally really like. I like a touch of space so that my feet don't feel like they're really squished in together. Kind of like race day shoes, this doesn't fit as tight as race day shoes, which is really nice in the forefoot. Midfoot lockdown was really, really nice. And then the heel lockdown, as long as I put the runner's loop in the last eyelet of the shoe, I was good to go for heel lockdown. So fit overall, I would say go true to size. You're not gonna have any problems, but obviously my foot might be shaped differently than yours, so you might wanna go on in store to try on your shoes. But in my experience, Brooks has a very consistent size or last in most of their shoes. So whatever shoes you usually get, or whatever size you usually get in Brooks, you should be good to go in the Brooks Hyperion Max 3s. If anything, compared to their daily trainers, this does fit a touch more snug than the regular daily trainers, but also a little bit looser than the race day shoes. So for me personally, I really enjoyed the fit. It was kind of like a nice hug, but you know, there was a little bit of breathing room. Now, when it comes to the upper, I think that this is one of the best aspects of the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. I typically don't really care about uppers as long as it doesn't cause any blisters or it's not anything too bulky. But this upper is a masterclass in what running shoe uppers, especially a premium super trainer, should feel like. It feels very premium. It feels like a hug on your foot. You have a little bit of a gusseted tongue. It's kind of a weird design because it's asymmetrical, but I mean, it doesn't really affect the performance. And you basically get a whole knitted booty that's gusseted and kind of hugs your foot. And then you get a very lightweight mesh or maybe knit. I don't exactly know what material this is, but it is very breathable and very thin and lightweight on your foot, kind of conforms to your foot and hugs your foot, kind of like a stretchy waistband, which I personally really like. I was a little bit worried about the heel tab because in the past when, you know, there isn't a there isn't an orthodox heel tab. Sometimes it kind of digs into your heels, but in this case, it's a very soft knitted material, and there is a pillow for your heel that really locks in your heel after you do the runner's loop. So overall, the upper is one of the best on the market. I personally really love the upper, and for $200, I'm glad that Brooks didn't just throw any upper on this shoe. I feel like they did put a lot of effort, and they did put premium materials on this upper, which I really appreciate, in addition to premium elements throughout the rest of the shoe. So overall, my thoughts on the Brooks Hyperion Max 3, I think for $200, yes, it is a lot of money, but I do think that it is very versatile. I think that, you know, when you're comparing this shoe to the Brooks Glycerin Max, which is kind of in that Brooks lineup as well, or the Asics Super Blast 2, or the New Balance Balos, the Nike Pegasus Premiums, like all of those other shoes, I think that this can definitely hold its own, and it's actually one of my favorite shoes. I think for the value, you're getting great cushioning, you're getting like one of the best uppers that you can get, and then the outsole, nothing to complain about. It's not bad or anything. If anything, it's average to slightly above average, but you know, time will also tell for that durability. I think for the price point, yes, it is very expensive, but I do think that this can double up as a race day shoe. It can double up as kind of a tempo run shoe if you don't mind a little bit more cushioning underfoot. It has that plate, it has the super foam, it kind of has everything that you would want at $200. And if you really want to use this as a long run shoe and your race day shoe, you can. So in that case, you know, compared to the race day shoes at $300 or $275, $250, I think that this shoe could be a good value, which is crazy to say about a $200 shoe. But it also, if you compare this shoe to other $200 shoes from other brands, I think that you are getting more bang for the buck with this shoe. So kudos to Brooks. I think that this is one of the best models that they've released in a long time. I do personally enjoy the Brooks Glycerin Max, but again, I feel like the upper on the Brooks Glycerin Max is definitely nothing compared to this shoe's upper, as well as you are getting that plate. So if you want a little bit of extra stability and a little bit of extra push in your shoe versus the Brooks Glycerin Max not having a plate, this could be a good option. I will be comparing this shoe to the Brooks Glycerin Max as well as the Super Blast, and let me know if you want me to compare it to the Balos as well. I just want to compare all the $200 shoes because it is a lot of money, but overall, as you can tell, I really enjoyed this shoe. I don't think that it's gonna be like my shoe of the year or anything, but it definitely is above average overall, and it's definitely gonna probably be in my top 5 at the end of the year. We'll see if that changes. There are a lot of bangers coming up, releasing soon, so really excited for that. But overall, if you're kind of on the fence about the Brooks Hyperion Max 3, but you're looking for a long run shoe, you're looking for kind of maybe a race day shoe at a budget, I think that this shoe is gonna be fantastic for that reasoning. And also, if you are a Brooks fan, this is probably one of the best shoes that they have in their lineup, if not the best shoe that they have in their lineup right now. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my review on the Brooks Hyperion Max 3. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more sneaker videos coming up. I do have the Skechers Aerospark full review coming soon. Sorry, I'm kind of lagging a little bit on the videos. My Achilles has been acting up a little bit. I haven't been able to run as much as I would like to, but I still am training for that marathon. So bear with me here. I will be releasing that review in the next couple days, hopefully maybe even tomorrow. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up the review. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, if you're thinking about the Brooks Hyperion Max 3, I definitely think it should be in your consideration. And let me know what you want me to compare this shoe to, and I will try to work on that. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.